It's time for another episode of ETS Tech Talk. Here's your host, Ryan Bialek.
Hello and welcome back to ETS Tech Talk. I am Ryan Bialek, and I'm sorry we're not done with the food analogies yet. Today, I'm delivering something hot and fresh. And if I don't get it to you in 30 minutes or less, this podcast will be free. This episode of ETS Tech Talk is called Copilot is Not Like Pizza. Now, I love pizza as much as anyone, especially at work. Order a couple of large pies for your team and nearly everyone is happy. But Microsoft Copilot, not so much. Copilot isn't a one-size-fits-all crowd pleaser. You can just drop into the office and expect universal delight. It's powerful, yes, but it's also new and different, and it changes how people work. Today, I am speaking to you, business leaders, IT leaders, CFOs, and really anyone responsible for an organization's technology. I'm going to take a slightly pragmatic, somewhat contrarian stance today, and that is this. To get the most out of Copilot, every individual needs real enablement, not just a license. Not a quick click here tutorial. I'm talking about training that helps build people's habits, how to ask better questions, how to validate the output we get from AI, and how to weave Copilot into day-to-day workflows without creating risk or rework. All right, everybody, gather around, grab a slice, let's dive in. Don't start by getting me wrong. I am a technologist and absolutely an optimist when it comes to AI. Copilot has incredible potential. Early studies show that among initial Copilot users, 70% felt more productive and 68% said Copilot improved their work quality. In fact, 77% of these early users didn't want to give Copilot up after trying it. I've been saying those stats and facts for many months now. They sound impressive, but what's clear is that when it's used well, Copilot can be transformative. It can draft emails, summarize lengthy reports, crunch data in Excel, and do that all in a flash. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the catch, and here's where my pragmatic side comes to play. Copilot is not plug and play magic. You don't just flip a switch, give everyone this AI assistant, and watch productivity skyrocket. If you do that, you may actually be in for a pretty harsh reality check. Let's think of it this way. Copilot is more like a powerful new appliance in your kitchen. And without a recipe or some training, people might not know what to do with it. It's like giving everyone a high-tech oven and expecting gourmet pizzas to come out automatically. But in reality, some folks will burn the crust, others won't even turn on the oven, and a few will maybe manage to make a decent pizza with some trial and error. To really enjoy the meal, or rather to reap the productivity benefits, you need to teach everyone how to cook with this new appliance. Now, this is a weird spot for me. I'm going to praise Copilot and critique Copilot in the same breath, and I don't mean any mixed messaging. Now, Microsoft's marketing makes Copilot sound like a dream, an AI colleague that works alongside you in Word, Outlook, Teams, and more. In online demos, we see it drafting perfect emails in seconds or analyzing sales data with a single command. It's easy to assume that Copilot will instantly boost everyone's productivity. Copilot is powerful, but it's not infallible. It can produce outputs that sounds confident and polished while still being incomplete, wrong, or misaligned with your context. If an untrained user blindly trusts Copilot, that is a recipe for trouble. Imagine sending a client an email full of AI-generated inaccuracies. Not a great look. On the flip side, if users are unsure or embarrassed to experiment, they won't use Copilot enough to get value. In both cases, the fancy new tool doesn't deliver. And here's a quick dose of reality on all of those great AI success stories you read on LinkedIn and so forth. Those success stories largely come from enthusiastic adopters who learned how to make Copilot work for them. Copilot's benefits aren't automatic for everyone. Let's be clear. Without any guidance, many users won't know the best way to use it, or they may use it incorrectly. And again, if users are too skeptical or unsure, they'll probably hardly use Copilot at all, sticking to the same old methods, the tried and true. And in all cases, the fancy new tool doesn't deliver value. So let's paint a quick hypothetical scenario. Imagine a company that rolls out Copilot to everyone overnight. IT flips the switch. And with a short email announcing Copilot's availability, Alice, an analyst, tries it out in Word. Cool, I can have it draft my quarterly report. But she only gives Copilot a vague prompt, and the first draft is off base. Alice sighs and thinks, this isn't great. I guess Copilot isn't useful for me. And she abandons it. Bob in marketing hears about one glitch from another colleague and decides he doesn't trust Copilot at all. He never even clicks the Copilot button. And Carol over in HR is excited by the concept, but unsure how to integrate it into her workflow. She asks Copilot to summarize an HR policy document and gets a decent summary. And she tries a more complex and gets a confusing answer. Without any training, it's hit or miss. A month later, the company's analytics show that only a small fraction of their employees are regularly using Copilot. And the big productivity boost that leadership had hoped for is nowhere in sight. People are back to business as usual, tried and true. There's some grumbling, maybe that Copilot was overhyped. So what went wrong? Well, it wasn't the technology. The issue was human. Users weren't prepared to use the new tool effectively. The rollout treated Copilot like a box of pizza, dropped on everyone's desk. Here you go. Enjoy. But Copilot is an acquired taste that needs savvy to appreciate. And this brings us to an important point. People in your organization will have different reactions to Copilot, just like pizza. It won't please everyone immediately. It won't please everybody precisely because everyone is different. So let's continue to consider this human side for another few moments. Every workplace has a mix of tech comfort levels. You'll have your early adopters, those eager beavers who jump in and experiment from day one. Those folks will likely find some quick wins with Copilot because they're not afraid of trial and error. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll have the resistors, maybe some workplace veterans who have seen the next big thing come and go, or people who are just uncomfortable with AI as a whole. They may approach Copilot with crossed arms or ignore it unless forced. In between is the largest group, the majority of users who are moderately open to using Copilot, but need a nudge plus some guidance. They're busy, maybe not a lot of free time to learn. And if Copilot doesn't clearly help them or just seems confusing, they're likely not going to invest time in it. Unlike a simple pepperoni and cheese, one size fits all won't work here. Different users need different support. The enthusiastic early adopter might only need a few tips to really soar with Copilot. The skeptical manager might need to see some concrete proof and get assurances that Copilot isn't going to screw up her important work. The resistant veteran probably needs a patient introduction, maybe sitting down to show how Copilot can make that tedious weekly report a whole lot easier without threatening his or her job. So if we ignore these human differences, Copilot adoption could stall. And of course, it sounds like a lot of work, but trust me, It's normal with any new tech. In fact, it's so normal that industry research quantifies it. About 70% of software implementations fail to reach their goals due to poor user adoption. The technology can be brilliant, but if people don't use it or they use it poorly, you won't get the value. Why do users hold back? Well, often because they weren't trained or prepared. Another recent analysis found that 45% of employees say new software is rolled out without adequate training, and 63% will stop using something new if they don't understand it or see its benefit. Those numbers are pretty alarming, and they scream one thing: training and change management make or break the success of new tech. And Copilot is no exception. So to unlock that early promise, the productivity boosts, the time saving, the improved work quality, companies must invest in skilling their people. I often tell org leaders, Copilot can be a game changer, but it's not a crock pot. You can't set it and forget it. You've got to actively help your people learn to play this new game. Now, when leaders hear training, they often picture a 1-hour webinar. Here's what this button does. Here's what that button does. Have a nice day. Well, that's not going to cut it with Copilot, because Copilot isn't just a feature. It's a new way of interacting with software. It's a new way of working. And sorry if that sounds a little bit hyped up, but really it is. And honestly, if your MSP is providing an hour or two of Copilot training, then calling it a wrap, that's cute. But let's get serious. In my mind, Copilot training has 3 layers. Layer 1, prompting fundamentals. Not prompt engineering. We don't need a lab coat, nothing too fancy. Just learning how to ask for what you want. Good prompts include context, constraints, and the kind of output you need. So many orgs are skipping this learning. If you want to learn more about the importance of prompting, go back an episode and make a PB&J sandwich with me. Layer 2, verification and accountability, how to use these tools responsibly. This is another part organizations skip, and it's the part that prevents messes. Users need a simple mental model. Copilot can draft, synthesize, and suggest, but the human must verify, decide, and own the output. Training should teach that, what to check, numbers, names, dates, policy statements, and anything that could create customer impact or compliance risk. Now, the goal here isn't fear. It's just reinforcing the need for professional judgment. Policies can enforce, training will inform. You need both. Okay, layer 3, workflow integration. And this is where the productivity gains will come from. If Copilot is a sometimes tool, people will forget it exists. But if Copilot becomes part of repeatable workflows, weekly status updates, meeting prep, email triage, document drafting, then you'll get compounding returns. Training should show repeatable patterns people can adopt immediately. Let me make this concrete with a quick example in Word. A weak prompt is write a project update. A stronger prompt is write a 1-page project update for the steering committee. Include current status, what changed since last week, the top 3 risks with mitigations, and decisions needed. Use a confident, non-alarmist tone. Same tool, completely different outcome. And the only thing that changed was the user's skill. Now, before I get into the game plan, I want to name a few failure modes I see over and over. If you can avoid these, you'll be ahead of the curve. Failure mode number 1. We bought licenses, therefore we did transformation. Nope. Lighting up licenses is not adoption. Licenses are permission to start adoption. If your only rollout artifact is an email that says, Copilot's now available, have fun, you're basically betting on self-motivation and spare time. Now, most organizations don't have much of either. Failure mode number 2, no clarity on what good looks like. People need examples. If you don't show them what excellent Copilot use looks like in their role, they'll either underuse it or they'll use it in weird ways that actually create more frustration, more work, or more risk. So define a handful of golden workflows per department and teach those first. Failure mode number 3, skipping the verification conversation. This one creates either reckless trust, hey, Copilot said it, so let's ship it, or total distrust. Hey, I heard AI hallucinates, so I'm not going to touch it. Your training has to normalize verification, not as a warning label, but as a professional practice. Failure mode number 4, treating everyone the same. Let's go back to those early adopters. They want advanced tips and autonomy. The cautious majority wants structure and safety. And those resistors, they want relevance and reassurance. If you teach one generic session, you'll satisfy none of those groups very well. And failure mode number 5, no operational support loop. Copilot will inevitably raise questions. Is this allowed? Can I use this on my document? Why did it summarize the wrong file? And if there's no place to ask and learn, like a Teams channel, office hours, or internal champions, friction will build and usage will drop. All right, we've identified the crux. Copilot won't please everyone at first because not everyone knows how to make it useful. So what are we going to do about it? This, again, is where comprehensive training and a smart rollout strategy come in. The secret sauce to make Copilot as close as possible to a crowd-pleasing cheese pizza. So let's break down the game plan for business leaders who want Copilot to succeed. Step 1, treat the Copilot rollout as a change management initiative and lead by example. In other words, don't just hand out Copilot like free pizza in the lunchroom. Make a project of it. Set expectations that this is a new way of working and it'll take some learning and repetition. Start by communicating a clear purpose, not just a feature list. For example, we're adopting Copilot to reduce time spent on low-value writing, summarization, and administrative work, so we can spend more time on decision-making, customer work, and creativity. People need to understand why before they'll tolerate the learning curve. Then lead in a visible way. If you're a CIO, CEO, a director, a manager, or a business owner, use your own Copilot with your team. Share it. Share what's working, what didn't work, and how you adjust it. That vulnerability does 2 things. It lowers the fear of looking dumb, and it also normalizes iteration. A leader saying, man, my first prompt was terrible, so I rewrote it, is more powerful than a glossy success story. Finally, plan the rollout in phases. When possible, start with a pilot group or a few different departments, capture the patterns that work, then expand. Identify Copilot champions, whether they're tech-comfortable people in different teams, but generally folks that can help peers in the moment. Champions are your internal coaches. They turn, I'm stuck, into, hey, try it this way, without needing a big formal ticketing process. Step 2, invest heavily in training and education, upfront and ongoing. Now, sorry to sound like a broken record. Training is not a one-time event here. It's the foundation. If you want a practical curriculum, think in terms of 3 learning loops. Learn, practice, share. Learn. Start with short, focused enablement sessions that show how Copilot works in each app, Word, Excel, Teams, PowerPoint, etc. Keep it concrete. People don't need a philosophy lecture. They need, hey, here are 3 things that you can try today. Practice. And run some hands-on workshops where people can use Copilot on their real work. This is where adoption actually happens. Have employees bring a real email thread, a real document, a real set of meeting notes, and let them try prompts. See the output and refine. Teach the habit. First attempt, review, adjust, prompt, improve your output. The loop is the skill. And share, create lightweight ways for people to share wins and patterns. Again, a Teams channel, a weekly Copilot tip, office hours, or a monthly show and tell. The goal here is to make learning social and ongoing, not just one and done. And also educate your team on limitations, best practices. Make sure that everybody understands that Copilot can be wrong. It can turn out generic or sometimes overly confident content. So train folks to review and verify. A good mantra is Copilot writes the first draft, but you are accountable for the final draft. In a way, this also helps with some of the fear management. Some people worry, well, if Copilot makes a mistake, I'll probably get blamed. Others worry, is this going to replace my job? Now, keep in mind that your training should address both. Frame Copilot as an augmentation, offloading the routine, mundane work and helping people focus on higher value thinking and relationship work. Step 3, set realistic expectations and address misconceptions upfront. This is the communications part. And I'm sorry, it's not optional. Prevent the disillusionment phase by painting an accurate picture of what Copilot will do and what it won't. Set the expectation that Copilot accelerates drafts and reduces blank page time, but it doesn't eliminate the need for thinking. Now, I like the metaphor. Copilot is like autopilot in a plane. It can handle routine flight, but the pilot, that's you, still owns the route, the safety, and the big decisions. Also, debunk the plug and play myth. Productivity gains will compound over time as people become proficient. On day 1, many users will say, well, that's fine. But on day 30, that's where they start building patterns. On day 90, the best users will not want to go back. And tackle those 2 big fear buckets we talked about previously. Tackle them head on. Fear of job displacement. Reiterate that the goal is augmentation, freeing time from administrative work so people can do more valuable things. Say the quiet part out loud. We're investing in our people and we're investing in our tools. And the fear of data risk and those concerns absolutely explain how permissions work, what data Copilot can and cannot access, and what the acceptable use expectations for AI are. When employees hear that clear guidance instead of rumors, well, they're likely to engage. Step 4, measure, iterate, and celebrate. Adoption is not just a launch date, it's a curve. So keep a pulse on how Copilot is being used and refine your approach continuously. Now, of course, you can monitor what you can, adoption rates, usage frequency, and where usage is concentrated or absent. Pair that with quantitative views and qualitative feedback, quick surveys, manager check-ins, and themes coming from your help channel or those office hours. Then adapt your enablement. If finance isn't using Copilot, they probably don't need more generic training. They need finance-specific examples. If people are generating content but not verifying it, you need to reinforce that verification habit with coaching and guardrails. And don't forget to celebrate the wins. When you hear a credible story, someone saved hours preparing for a weekly update, or a team reduced meeting follow-up time, share it. Those stories create permission for others to try. Peer examples beat executive mandates every single time. And finally, connect this back to ROI. After a few months, translate usage into outcomes. Time saved, cycle time reduced, quality improved, employee satisfaction. If leadership can clearly see that payoff, the organization will keep investing in enablement, in software, in people, which is what sustains the value. Don't worry, your CFO can thank me later. Okay, one more reality check I want to surface. You don't have to do this alone. For many organizations, Copilot and AI enablement feel massive, abstract, and frankly, foreign. It's not just another software rollout. It blends technology, behavioral change, governance, security, and training in a way that most teams haven't tackled before. And I know that that can feel intimidating, especially for IT leaders, business managers, and company owners who already have full plates. If Copilot feels overwhelming, that's not a failure. That's a signal that this work is legitimately complex. This is where the right partner can make a material difference. Not a vendor who just hands you some licenses and a slide deck and some links, but a partner who has seen the messy middle of adoption, the awkward first prompts, the nervous questions about data risk, and the uneven usage across teams and departments. A good enablement partner helps translate AI from big concept into practical, role-based workflows. They help you avoid common pitfalls, accelerate learning, and build confidence, so your team doesn't have to learn everything the hard way. And most importantly, a strong partner acts as a guide, not a replacement for internal ownership. They help upskill your people, coach your champions, and gradually make themselves less critical over time. The goal isn't dependency, it's capability. If Copilot is the tool, then enablement is the craft. And sometimes the fastest, safest way to build that craft is to learn along someone who has already felt the sharp edges. And another quick warning, partners who try to do Copilot training in 1 or 2 sessions are basically selling frozen pizza and calling it a culinary delight. You'll get something edible, sure, but no one actually learns how to cook, and everyone is quietly disappointed. A single workshop might spark curiosity, but it won't build confidence, habits, or judgment. Copilot isn't mastered in an afternoon. It's learned through repetition, feedback, and real work over time. So if a partner's entire enablement strategy fits neatly into a calendar invite or two, they're optimizing for convenience, not outcomes. And that's how AI initiatives turn into shelfware. It's a great launch deck, but terrible adoption. So repeat after me, folks. You don't get value from Copilot after 2 hours of training. Now repeat it again and again and again. So let's go back to our little tongue-in-cheek title here. Copilot is not like pizza. It will not please everyone. And that's not a knock on Copilot. That's a reminder that no meaning technology shift instantly pleases everyone right out of the box. It takes time. Today, we covered the hype versus reality, sure. We talked about what Copilot training could really look like, some of the failure modes that derail adoption, and of course, a practical rollout plan. If you only take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Copilot is a capability that compounds with skill. The license unlocks the access. The training unlocks the value. So pair your technology investment with an investment in your people. Make it safe to experiment. Teach prompting. Teach verification. Provide role-based examples. And of course, measure, iterate, and celebrate. That's how we get the early promise, those productivity boosts and quality gains, the things people are reporting and sharing all over LinkedIn. That's how we get that to reality. And that's how we do it across an organization, not just in a few pockets. Copilot's true value emerges when users have the skills and knowledge to harness it. So no, I'm sorry, Copilot is not like pizza. You can't count on instant smiles all around. But with some effort, mixing the ingredients of strategy, training, communication, and feedback, you can turn Copilot into a dish that most of your organization will eventually savor. It may take a few bites for some to acquire the taste, but they'll get there. And who knows, a few months from now, you may hear employees saying, hey, I can't imagine working without Copilot. Much like saying, we can't imagine a staff party without a pizza. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Please subscribe if you want to leave a great review. And most importantly, share it. Share this episode with someone who is about to roll out Copilot or someone who already did, and someone who may be wondering why adoption is uneven. If you have your own Copilot wins, failures, or unexpected stories, I'd genuinely love to hear them as well. Those real world examples are where the best lessons live. Until next time, folks, I'm Ryan Bialek, reminding you that even in the age of AI, people first leadership is what drives real change. Stay hungry, my friends.
That's a wrap on this episode of ETS Tech Talk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Mere mortals